Hello, I'm Jason Lightoller from Woodside, and I've been asked many times to show the method that I use for a latch tool bind off, otherwise known as a loop through loop cast off. And the reason why I use that is if I want a closed edge cast off, and there's two situations that I do that. One at the end of a piece of knitting if I want a closed edge, and in this case it's because I've done a tension swatch, or if I've grafted a seam together. And on either occasion, if you've grafted your seam together, then what you do is you make your last two rows 3 tensions looser. So if your main knitting has been done at tension 7, you would then go up to tension 10, and then you do 2 final rows. And then what you would do is, if you are right-handed, you would have the last carriage on the right, and then you cut the yarn. And before you do anything else, you remove your comb and your weights, because that makes things a lot easier. And then what you do is you take your latch tool, and with the latch open, you put it in the first loop here, and then you lift it off, and then make sure that it goes behind the latch, and then keeping your finger on the latch there, bring a few stitches forward, but make sure that the rest of the stitches stay in the hooks. Take the second loop, keep it in the hook of the latch tool, and then just bring it forward. And then the new stitch goes behind the latch. You take the second stitch, put it in the hook of the latch tool, and then bring the two forward like that. Again, the third stitch, take it off the hook and then bring it forward. And then you carry on doing that. And then you take each subsequent loop into the hook of the latch tool and then bring it through the previous stitch on the latch tool. And then it really is just as simple as that. And then what you can do, as you bring a few needles forward, it's held very securely in the latches here, in the latches of the needles hook, and there's no danger of them falling off. And then you can just continue going along like that. And then as you get more efficient at it, you will be able to speed up. It's a very quick process. Now, I'm right-handed, so I'm going from left to right. If you are left-handed, you would go from right to left. And this really does help by doing the last 2 rows at the 3 tensions looser, as I described earlier. And it is as simple as that, and sooner or later you will be able to zip along and get this done in no time at all. Now, there is another method to bind off using the latch tool, but I can't accept this method because it involves in bringing the needles out to hold position and the stitches are behind the latch. And what you would do is you would put the stitch into the hook of the latch tool, and then you would take it off this particular needle there, and then you would go from right to left. But what you're doing is you're bringing the other stitches forward, and then you're actually putting the hook into the stitch behind. But as you can see, it's really precarious, and there's a danger of the other stitches adjacent to that needle there actually pulling right off the needles because they're not protected at all. As you can see, there's a danger of them slipping right off the needles and all your work would run. So I can't accept that method, although of course that might be what you prefer, but it's not the method that I actually use myself. So here we are. This is the end of the latch tool bind off using my method. It's quite stretchy, and it's actually a lot easier to use than other methods that I have seen. And as I've said just now, it might not be the way that you prefer, but it's the way that served me very, very well over the last 3 decades or more.